really, we've got to look at this year's race then, mate, or else we'll be talking for hours and not really getting anywhere. This year, I think, on what I've seen with my own eyes, it looks too simple to be true, this race this year.
It's funny you say that, really, because I've not until very recently have I confirmed my selections for this race. I'd say between the spring last year and around December time, obviously at the end of last year, I was in and ahhing and looking for the horse to win this race, and I wasn't really particularly fancied of any of the horses. I was impressed.
What's your record like in the race, mate? Have you picked many winners of it in the past?
I do have a good record in the race. More recently than previously. Duvan, Votour, Champagne Fever, and a couple of others.
Back Champagne Fever. Yeah. I backed the second in that. Wadey Cohen's horse.
Right. Yeah. That ran a good race, but so my record isn't too bad in it. But like this year, I must say, I was impressed with Mengli Khan's run early on, but I wasn't overly keen on the horses. Funny enough, I know it's funny to say this because you might just think, well, what is he saying that for? But when I look at a hurdler, I like to look at like their frame, and Mengli Khan doesn't have the kind of frame or physique that I would associate with like a 2-mile hurdler, and it puts me.
I've actually got a friend, and he backs a few Hugo Palmer horses off the flat. It's ex-Hugo Palmer off the flat, isn't it?
Correct, yes.
It was only rated 80 or 90 on the flat. I mean, to me, I've got it written down here in my notes. I've got Mengli Khan not good enough.
Yeah, you could be right. It's ran some decent races this year. Probably its best race is going right-handed, actually. But I just have I have a slight question mark over the horse, I must say. But I do give it an each-way chance. But the Moscow Flyer novice hurdle that it was runner-up to Get a Bird in.
Well, for me, mate, I just think Get a Bird's the one to beat.
Obviously, it was a talking horse last season, and it had a bit of a setback, and it never made it to Cheltenham. But like, it's done nothing wrong this year, and it did beat Mengli Khan.
Won every race in its life.
Very well, yeah. It did beat Mengli Khan well last time.
Crashed it.
It was getting over half a stone from Mengli Khan, or near enough a half a stone. So on that.
I mean, I've got Mengli Khan on the list as one that could win it, because I'll tell you what horse it reminds me of regarding its profile is Go Native.
Yeah.
That was a 90-odd rated handicapper on the flat. Somebody, and that won the Supreme Novices. I wouldn't rule old Mengli out.
Yeah.
10-1. But I think if he wins it, it's a poor renewal, I suppose, is my point.
Yeah.
Can you see Mengli Khan in the top 6 of next year's Arkle or Champion Hurdle? Can you see him even in there?
No, I couldn't really. I must say, I look through the race, and Get a Bird is the one horse that's in the it could be anything bracket. Horses like
too short now, though, isn't it?
It is short now. Horses like Kanashikov and Somerville Boy.
Much about that one.
I've not been over keen on any of those two horses. They've got form in soft.
They're not even on my list, mate.
Obviously, the ground.
I can't really comment on them horses.
No,
I'm of the view, mate. I'm of the view that there's a lot of horses, and if I've not seen a form line, I just tend to dismiss it until I've seen it. So I do miss a lot of good horses. I can't. It's impossible to watch every race.
It is difficult to tune into them all. Like, I must say, I've watched these horses run at like Sandown in the Tolworth and all that this season, and don't get me wrong.
Since when, though, has the Tolworth been any guide for Cheltenham?
Well, exactly. Although I will say that York Hill won the Tolworth 2 years ago, and then went and won the the Neptune.
Just goes to show what a superb horse York Hill is, doesn't it?
Well, he certainly was. We'll find out tomorrow if he's still got
more on him later. I think it's fair to say, mate. I mean, me personally, I've always looked for alternatives because one thing I will say at Cheltenham, if people are listening to this thinking we're going to bet whatever these guys talk about, then I think they're on the wrong track listening to this, because Steve has already said in the past shows that he is an anti-post gambler. And the prices that Steve is on these horses, you're just not going to get. So there is no value whatsoever in backing these horses tomorrow or in through the next 4 days. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you're right. I must say, obviously, I do bet anti-post, and I bet from year to year. So obviously, since last year's festival, I've obviously been backing horses from probably April through to now. So as you say, the prices are a lot different to what they are now. A hell of a lot shorter, the majority of them. So yeah, I wouldn't advise people to be taking short odds on prices on any horse, really. Certainly not
advice ever. In any race, really, in any race.
No, yeah, you're right, and
you've got to. What people need to understand: risk and reward. Is the reward worth the risk of you putting this bet on? You know, if you're going to have a bet, is it worth the risk? Do the winnings equal the amount of risk? If you're in a desperate situation and you're trying to double your money, then I don't know, you're struggling.
Yeah, I agree. I certainly. If somebody asked me now, if you wasn't on anti-post, Stephen, at these prices, would you crack into these horses this week? Probably 8 out of 10, I'd say no.
Yeah, exactly. And Get a Bird is one of them. Do I think it'll win? Absolutely, I think it's going to win. But would I bet at this price? Absolutely never in a million years. And that's the trouble with Cheltenham. And that's why, hopefully, over the months, we're hopefully going to sort of encourage people not to bet on silly races during the week. Build a stake up for a horse that you fancy at next year's festival, and then you will be getting some proper rewards for winning these big races.
Yeah, that's certainly the way to go. That's obviously you do have the anti-post rules to bear in mind, but you can, with most bookies now, they do offer a concession that's you can back a horse now for Cheltenham to win any race at Cheltenham, not just a selected race.
Absolutely.
You get a price that's a few points shorter than it would be to win a particular race, but you have that option then if connections decide to send their horse to a different race, you still have that horse running for you. So that's probably, I do a lot of that with my gambling, and I find it does work. Yeah, so that's what I'd look at anyway if I was advising anybody to go that route.
Exactly. And also, if you're thinking you're going to walk in and say, have X amount of money on a horse at Cheltenham tomorrow at 13 to 8 or 7 to 4, whatever price Get a Bird is these days.
Yeah, he's about 7 to 4, 15 to 8 currently.
You're better off just having £1 a week on him for the first 4 months of the year at better prices, aren't you? And having a bet tomorrow.
I'd say exactly the same. Like, even so, there's a horse you fancy 4 months prior to the race. You're not certain he'll go there, but when you're getting 10, 12, 14, 16 to 1 on him, why not just place a £5 bet on him and then wait for a couple of months and see what happens? And if he shortens or you fancy him a bit more, have a little bit more on. But you certainly don't have to wait until today and wager in big time, or you certainly don't have to wager in big time too early. You can do it a bit at a time. That's what I tend to do with my anti-post plan.
I mean, me personally, I would always try and back anti-post because I think it's important that if you're betting on these things, you can predict what they're going to do.
Yep. I think that is right.
Right. So basically, I've been watching. I've got one sort of form line through the race, I think, and I don't know whether it's going to work out or not. But it involves the bumper, last year's third, Clayman Taken Forgan. And you've already touched on Nicky Henderson and that. I mean, if this Clayman Taken Forgan is his best novice, then it has to be. It's a big price, isn't it? At whatever price it is, 12 to 1 or something. Is the form good enough? Probably not. But it ran third in last year's bumper, which is a massive bonus for me. I'm not saying that I really rate the horse because I only really came across the horse because I was following another horse, which is also in the race tomorrow, Slate House of Tizard's. I remember watching an interview with Tizard on ITV where he said, I have a sort of champions row at my yard. Basically what that is, some trainers are a bit superstitious. They like to give their best horses the best yards. I don't think it makes any difference. But some trainers do like to think like that. And that Slate House was on there with all the other horses of Tizard's, Finian's Oscar, etc., etc. So I thought that must obviously be a good horse. So I watched it when it won at Cheltenham, and they omitted half the hurdles, admittedly, in that race, and it won. So then I thought, that could be the one for the Supreme this year. That could definitely be the one. So then I watched it again, and it got beaten quite convincingly, I have to say, by that Clayman Taken Forgan. But they're the only two, really, that I've got any interest in the Supreme, apart from the favourite, to be honest.
I'd take your point there. I must say, the Nicky Henderson horse, I obviously had a good look at him several weeks ago, and he did look like the horse that could be the one for the Supreme. He was a bit disappointing last time at Musselburgh, odds on, but they say the ground was against him that day, and he does want better ground, so that might be a problem tomorrow. But they do hold him in high regard, certainly.
So would you say tomorrow then that really the ground has gone against the horse? I do
believe it's gone against the horse. So I have heard connections.
Cheers for that. Cheers for that. I will cross that off my list then, because I was actually going to have a little look at that one. But your opinion is good enough for me, mate. If it wins, don't worry, I won't hold it against you, because what I've seen with my own eyes hasn't really convinced me to bet the horse anyway. But I just thought, with it being last third in the bumper last year, and I'd rather back Slate House than that. That Slate House is an interesting horse for me.
Yeah, as you said, you saw Slate House win earlier in the season at Cheltenham, and it beat the Nicky Henderson Hot Pot mare in that race, and it won really convincingly. But as you say, the last twice it hasn't really produced. It's been a bit disappointing. But at that time of those runs, certainly the Sandown run, Colin Tizard's horses were in not the best of form. So maybe that form line can be excused, but it's a big price. So if you have an each way bet on it, you don't have to put.
It's 28 to 1.
Yeah, you don't have to put a lot out. And as you say, you go back. You're looking at last year's bumper form. Next Destination, which was fourth in the race, I believe, is second favourite behind Sam Crow in Wednesday's Ballymore. So
yeah, and the third Debouché is in the Supreme Novices as well. But I've noticed it's still a maiden. It's not won a race this year over hurdles. It's 33 to 1,
that's
purely
correct.
on its Cheltenham form, isn't it? Shown nothing else. So if that wins, you wouldn't be too surprised, would you? But I've noticed, the first four are like you said, Next Destination. You're correct. So Debouché as well, I've got him written down as well, because he ran well in the bumper last year as well.
He's a horse, obviously, that was also held in high regard. I think he had a little bit of a problem earlier on in the season, and he hasn't really gone on from where he left off last year, so that'd be a worry. But again, he's a big price. He's ran on soft ground several times, so maybe he's maybe you're chancing him, but in this ground, some horses are going to go on it, and a lot of them ain't. So you take your chance, really. But certainly the favourite Get a Bird, all the vibes are that he'll handle the rain softened ground.
Getaway was a great horse on the soft. Andre Farb trained it, didn't it?
Yeah.
Good horse.
That won't be an issue with him anyway, but it certainly will be with a lot of the runners this week. So maybe it's a good thing to have a good look of what ground these horses have been running on, because you can cross quite a lot off before you've even started, really.
Absolutely. So is there any others in the race that have caught your eye, sir? Because I'm about done with views on that race. Is there any others in the race that you deserve a mention?
Personally, I'm with Get a Bird and Mengley Khan each way. Obviously, the Moscow Fly Novice Hurdle was the best form line in my opinion, and that's where I'm going to go in this race. But
and we both agree really that the best horse in the race from a betting view tomorrow is just way. We can't emphasise this enough. Too short, isn't it?
Yeah, it is short.
All right, we'll leave it there with that race then. Me personally, I'm gonna back Slate. I'm gonna have a look at Slate House. I think definitely just a little silly bet. I'm interested in every race at Cheltenham anyway. But if Slate House was to win at that price, I just wouldn't be able to forgive myself. So I've got to really protect my own sanity by having a little go on him.
Brilliant.